5 years after 9/11, all of our worst intelligence deficiencies remain. There's still no one effectively in charge of our sprawling intelligence community. We're still terrible at communicating from one agency to another. The CIA still hasn't developed dramatic new models to improve its recruitment of jihadists in caves. And the FBI has been a disaster in terms of being able to transform itself from a law enforcement agency to a domestic intelligence agency. One critical problem has been strategic intelligence. Since 9/11, there's been this great pressure to respond to today's threats, whether it's Iraq, where the next bomb is going to be, or whether it's today's terrorist attack. What happens when you focus on what's called this tactical intelligence is that we lose sight of the big picture, the strategic picture about what enemies are developing over the horizon. I think the Iraq War is Exhibit A for the dangers of poor strategic intelligence. Our battlefield intelligence in Iraq was second to none. I think few would dispute that. But our strategic intelligence about whether Hussein actually had weapons of mass destruction was a complete failure. What I hear a lot from people in the intelligence community is frustration. They feel like they are constantly being attacked for a job poorly done when they're operating in an environment where the rules of the game aren't clear. Are the gloves off or are they on? Should the CIA be targeting al-Qaeda operatives for assassination or not? So it's a very dicey political environment in which our intelligence agencies are operating, and I can understand why they're frustrated. If I were queen for a day, the two things I would start with to improve U.S. intelligence would be, number one, end the fiction that the FBI can be transformed. I think we need to give those domestic intelligence responsibilities to a new agency. The FBI can't get from here to there. The second thing I would do is to require by law that intelligence officials have training programs across different agencies early in their careers so that they can develop those informal networks at the beginning. I worked for President Clinton's National Security Council staff, and I also worked on the presidential campaign of George W. Bush. Intelligence is not a Democrat or Republican issue, but I have to conclude that since 9/11, this president has not done enough to reform our intelligence agencies. We have known about these problems for 5 years now, and yet President Bush has not taken the lead on dramatically improving our agencies to make America safer. The two most surprising things to most Americans, in my view, are, number one, that the Pentagon is controlling most of our intelligence system, and that is not a good thing. And number two, that the vast majority of what the Central Intelligence Agency does isn't James Bond spying abroad. It's actually piecing together information in cubicles, and the CIA needs to be able to do that job better to keep all of us safe. Sitting here in Los Angeles, I'm acutely aware of how the CIA and the NSA and other agencies are portrayed in the movies and on TV. And what you see is these agencies are omnipotent. They can do anything. Jennifer Garner can change her appearance in 10 seconds and conquer anybody. Jack Bauer saves the nation every television season. In reality, intelligence agencies are struggling to be competent, not omnipotent. So while we see the NSA on TV focusing on us and being able to eavesdrop on our conversations like Big Brother, the reality is that back at real NSA headquarters, the power's about to go out because their power grid is so outdated. So I think that what we need to start doing is aligning the reality better so that Americans are better educated about what the strengths and what the real weaknesses are of our intelligence agencies. Amazon and the Gap have more personal information about most Americans than the Central Intelligence Agency ever has. We as a nation haven't had a serious conversation about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in terms of our homeland security efforts. Is it okay to eavesdrop on someone's telephone conversation if you have reason to believe that they're affiliated with terrorists? Is it okay to do racial profiling at airports? Is it okay to infiltrate Muslim communities here in the United States? And Americans tend to be uneasy about those things, and politicians try to err on the side of caution. We haven't had a serious dialogue about where the line is. The danger of our intelligence agencies is not that they're too powerful, but that they're not powerful enough. But I'm also concerned that I don't want unreasonable and unlawful intrusions into Americans' private lives. So I think that what we need to do is give them more power to do more surveillance, but more safeguards to make sure that civil liberties are protected.